Trackwrestling with Popolizio of Journeymen Wrestling, and I'm going to give you a date and I'm going to give you the teams. February 14th, 1998, Oklahoma State, Iowa. What do you remember about it?
I remember it being the best dual meet that I've ever witnessed. I remember it was so loud that it was maybe like a Garth Brooks concert is my best analogy. Like a real rock concert. It was that crazy loud. And it came down to that heavyweight match, and winner took all. As soon as the match was over, it was like a plug got pulled. Instant silence. And it was an unbelievably eerie, awesome feeling all wrapped up in one.
What did that meet do for you?
Well, it inspired me. That kind of ambiance really was what I was drawn to. Who wouldn't be? I mean, it really was. It was a sold-out arena. It was electrifying. It was exciting. It mattered. It was all those things. And in return, I took that energy and I took that mentality and I tried to replicate in my own mind, in my own world, back east. And we created the Northeast Duels out of that. Obviously, much different, but still, I was inspired.
What's your goal with Journeymen Wrestling?
Well, the simple answer is to inspire, advocate the sport of wrestling. That's easy. That's the easy part. But within that, I'm always, trying to evolve and be creative, stuff like that. How we run tournaments, we were visiting earlier, and formats and how we can become more efficient, things like that to better the sport.
You have a system. How do you stay efficient? How do you keep things on point so that you can maximize the time people are on the mat, but minimize the time they're on the mat?
Well, I've got some good people behind me. I'd like to say it's all me, but it's not the truth. The truth is I've surrounded myself with really smart people and good people and creative people. Sam Hazelton being one of them from Efficiency Partners. He's helped me create our own software to produce efficient events. I'm not in the business of trying to take my software and run tournaments. That's not my goal. My goal is to just run my own tournaments in the most efficient manner possible. So I'm not trying to compete with other organizations in running tournaments. But the ones that we do run, I have to be able to guarantee people that are coming from around the world, right? We have international tournaments, we have high-end college tournaments. We have to be able to get these guys in and get them out. And if I'm able to do that in a very efficient time period, they're more apt to say yes to me rather than being run-of-the-mill. And it's going to take 2 days. Maybe I can get it done in one. And we've been able to do that. Our Collegiate Classic is an example of that, where we had we had 28 teams between our duels and our Collegiate Classic this year.
Your brother, of course, is Popolizio, head wrestling coach at North Carolina State.
Never liked him.
Still don't like him?
I love him.
You were instrumental in getting that Oklahoma State, NC State meet in Italy. How'd you pull that off?
Well, again, you surround yourself with the right people. There's a lot of discussions and brainstorming of things, creative discussions, and we have our relationships, international relationships, and one of the ideas was to wrestle in an amphitheater back in Italy. That was the initial idea. And from that, it morphed into some other things, and it turned into a college match. And we wanted to still do it in an amphitheater, but the college season happens during the winter months. Wasn't really practical to do. Italy's a little bit sometimes difficult to do business with. In the end, we ended up on a naval base, which was our backup plan. But it worked out, and that was something that came from one idea, it led to another, and again, getting people like John Smith on your side makes it easy. Once he says yes, and then Pat says yes, it makes life different, obviously.
How do you stay relentless?
And you're born with it. I don't know. Relentless is a good word. I think it's probably my best characteristic, and it's probably my biggest fault. Sometimes I lose balance.
How has being relentless made you lose balance?
Well, I think when you're so relentless, you become single-minded. When you're single-minded, there's not a lot of room for other things. When there's not room for other things, you sometimes, people can perceive it the wrong way, or you're just so driven that you're knocking things over in the meanwhile, almost like a bulldozer effect. And you're not meaning that. You're trying to be delicate. You're trying to be compassionate. You're trying to do the right things in the right way. But it always, sometimes it doesn't always come out that way when you're being relentless. You hear no, and sometimes the no is because people just don't understand what you're trying to do. It's not personal, so you really work hard to get them to understand it. And in order to do that, sometimes you got to go to extremes to get your message heard.
You coached Stevo Poulin, who was the viral sensation several years ago. How has he adapted to that and still maintained his poise and really been a good wrestler?
Yeah, so early on when he was 9 years old, that whole situation created a persona almost, right? Like a person that was different than who he actually is. And there's difficulty in that because there's pressure associated with winning and being that guy. And he's done a great job, and we've worked with it a lot to mitigate that pressure, to be a superstar. Just win the day. Win one day at a time, and you put those days together, they become weeks become months, and months become years. And when you break it down like that, it's a little bit easier to digest, and it's a little more palatable. But it makes it different when you're with a guy like that has been dealing with that pressure and stress for that many years. There's a reason he wins. He's good at metabolizing it. And you just got to be sure that it doesn't consume you in the process.
What's your next challenge?
My challenge, well, there's many challenges going on at once. At least in my world, that's how I do it. I got challenges on my farm. I got challenges within my family. I got challenges within my work. But from in wrestling work, that is. And I would say a World Classic is coming up in April, and I've been putting a lot of time into that. That's something that I take a lot of pride in. International event for high school and middle school age kids. Largely freestyle. We're doing some Greco also this year. But we have probably 23 countries, or if not more, that are coming in. Russia, Azerbaijan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan. All your great rich wrestling traditions are a part of it. And so that's a huge challenge. That is a massive undertaking. And then we got something special that we're working on as an encore to the Italy match with NC State and Oklahoma State. We're going to wait a little bit on that, but it's an encore. I'll put it that way.
Frank Popolizio, thanks for the time.
Thank you.